Are you ready to start the second part of the show? Not able to hear you, Mr. Kesh.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I hear you.
Sorry, I just had to go off and come back on. We're back on, and we hope we can share more knowledge and understand with, in a way, understanding the totality. We have just been informed that donations are continuously coming in, and we still haven't just passed about 10% of what we need. We're looking for large donations or money to be given to the foundation to be returned on the completion of this work. We ask not to be generous. We ask to bring that change, help us to bring that change. And that change comes through staying independent, as we've done for 20 years. And we have bowed to no government and to no structure. And we have kept the whole thing the same way for the new expansion and changes in the Keshe Village. Are there any questions that we can expand?
Okay, first, as usual, I'll let the attendees know they can put up their virtual hand, and then we can open your microphone so you can speak. You see, we have a number of questions in the various chats here. Let's see. Let's start off with you. Why you? You in live stream has a question. Is my train of thought correct if I relate the soul of the GANs of plasma, the soul of physicality, to the nanocoated plate and wire, and physicality to the zinc plate?
What do you mean?
Let's see, so it seems to be saying that the soul of physicality would be the nanocoated plate, and the physicality would be the zinc plate. Is that a way to relate them?
Depends how you look at it.
Well, he goes on to explain a little bit.
You see, if you look at it, when we look at the nanomaterial, nanocoated, the soul of the element is outside. The nanocoating is that soul of physicality, and the physicality is the copper inside.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because that soul of the thing which keeps the whole structure together in the nano layer is outside, controlling the inside, but is at one piece with that piece of copper. It has a length, it has a length, it has a dimension.
Exactly, and that's, he goes on to say, if so, does that mean in order to manifest the soul, a wide gap is needed between the two plates because it has a higher strength order and so more spaces are needed? But I think maybe the gap is in the nanocoating is where the where
more
that
or
would
less,
manifest.
yes, if you look at it that way, yes. If you look at it that way, yes.
We were talking even yesterday in the plasma group about the nanocoating and the way you talked about making nanocoating for example, the inside of a reactor, where it might take a month of steady nanocoating to provide the numbers of layers to give the the field strength to be able to do the job, basically.
Yeah.
So in that case, a wider gap or more space is needed for that job, you might say.
It's one of the options, it's one of the possibilities, yes. It's one way of looking at it. Any other question?
Okay, something more down to earth here. Stefania has a question in the chat. The Italian group asked me to ask you how to make ask you to make a clear announcement for the donations. Which is the direct way for the foundation to have money directly? To explain again the fast way to donate.
Send it through a bank to the Keshe Foundation in Holland. The account is on the screen. You just, because you're in Italy, you just need to put the amount, the Keshe Foundation, and the IBN number, which is NL. That's all you need to do. This is a 3-step process for European banking. Because we all work on a SEPA, and SEPA is straightforward. Name, account number, and the amount. And it says just put your lending or you're donating to the foundation. We need to raise this one today to be able to take to the next step. Independent foundation for our work, so you stay independent.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry.
But we'll be able to bring that change, both for the environment, for people, for space technology, and everything else. Any other question?
Okay. We have a question from Jan in the YouTube. Can we use a GaNs-based beta decay process to create a beta voltaic battery with no hazardous side effects of radioactivity? How to produce GaNs of K40 and deposit it on a nano-coated wire?
If you can do it, yes. One of the first papers I wrote, I became like alchemist of the past. I thought, if I let this knowledge go in the total understanding, then it can create a problem that some people will grasp it and use it to abuse the others. And I start writing the abbreviations with a sequence that I knew what it is. Like, instead of putting potassium, K, I put Ca, but I knew this is for the next one, so you cannot decipher. If you read some of the very, very first papers I've written, it needs deciphering because I use what they call the coding system, because I didn't want nobody to abuse no one. If they understood it, they were clever enough, they would not do this. And chemist picked it up. He said, Mr. Keshe, do you know chemistry? I said, yes. He said, in this paper, you have put Ca. I said, yes. He said, it means you don't understand anything about chemistry. And I looked at him. He was a Belgian. He was the first guy. When you look at that blue reactor, which is in the exhibition somewhere, we've shown it before, he was the guy who gave us the facility to build that first reactor. He said, you're a nuclear physicist, but you don't understand chemistry. You put here calcium. I looked at him and I said, you think I'm that simple to give you the full lot? That then you can abuse it, because his target was to build the energy system. And he said, I cannot work with somebody who doesn't understand chemistry. And calcium does not have these properties, but look at the calcium, potassium, and the others. How you look, if you put, you could decipher. A lot of my writings, early writings, needs deciphering, understanding the code. And yes, you say you want to use potassium 40, but have you understood how to create that potassium 40? Do you need, with the knowledge you have, to create potassium 40? Or the answer with that. With a new knowledge, I was looking at the video from the, what do we call it, the research center last night. We have managed to create the heartbeat of the soul of the man. And in that process goes back to knowledge, extended knowledge of the totality, how to create that heartbeat. You create the heartbeat of the man with electronics. We have created the heartbeat of the soul of the man with plasma technology. And did we use any potassium 40? Did we need to create such a condition? Did we need to go that far now that the knowledge has come so forward? When you sit in the enhancement unit, I'm not interested in your leg being short. I'm not interested if your eye twitches. I'm not interested if you came in with a cancer. What I'm interested, I deal with the boss. Let the boss decides what is needed to be done with the soldiers. Does the soul of the man has decided, I'll have that leg short, that I get enough attention that I can absorb the soul. Now I'm elevated. Does my leg increases by 2 inches and I'm not short anymore? Or I have replaced the interaction abstraction from the beginning to the end by elevation of the soul. On the other hand, do I need an enhancement unit to reach that? If I can tap into universal energy and do it. We don't see people from the universal community walking around with an enhancement in their pocket or in the back of them towing along, do we? And then if you understand this, watch some of the videos, you see 1 second a person and 1 next second you don't see. How can you elevate your soul rapidly to cover your physicality if it's in the time of danger, and then bring the physicality and then walk away? Now we have the technology, we can see the recording of these things. And some people say, what happened? No, it shows directly, he's not from us as a human race. Go on the internet, there are many videos like this. And now we have the capability to record. Then you understand exactly what I've been teaching. Scan the internet for, there are a few pictures from the traffic cameras that you see a car in an accident and there's no guy, and then the guy gets up and walks away as nothing happened. Then you understand when I tell you 1/3 of our population are travelers of the universe. Now you can check it, you can see it. And how do they manage to do? Instantly, the soul is aware of the physical damage, converts into covering the physicality, and then back again to physicality. Exactly what the Christ did, resurrection. How can they do it? How can we just say it's a magic on the videos? How many times can be magics? And if there are so many magics can be recorded in so many different situations, then by God, now you understand. We've been amongst you longer than you think. We become you that you don't even recognize us. Just go on the internet. And then does this guy carry a quota of potassium 40? Does he need it? Or his soul coming from another position in the universe, in interaction with soul of physicality, has taken the shape of the physical life on this planet, which is the body of the man, if he decided to be in the shape of a man. Maybe some of them are in the shape of a tree, and some of them are happy to be a lion or a cat. So the dimension is understanding it, not just trying to create potassium 40. Understand the knowledge, the application and implication of the knowledge. And then we see how fast we can move to the next level. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. We have Moshfek with the hand up here. Let's go ahead, Moshfek. And we have Nikolai after that.
Regarding this fundraising effort, would it be possible to redirect the fund from Cashcoin to this for this purpose?
Yes, it can be used, but there is no problem. But we go through the process of the present situation. We can add those to it. There is no problem. You can donate your coin or say my coin to be used till it can be returned back. Is no problem. You have to keep a record of all the coins you have donated for. And tell us which one you want to name, because there are many people bought new numbers of these coins.
So, so in order to redirect, let's say, the funds from the Cashcoin, so what is there a procedure?
You just write to the foundation, I want my coins to be a donation or to be used for this purpose and returned. And okay, you date it, which coin, which date.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. The process of raising, we are reaching nearly 20,000 at the moment. And we need to go further to complete the process. If you have, you can do, but you think, I don't want to give it away as a donation, lend it, register as a lend it, and the foundation will return it to you back. Any other question?
Okay, Fried had a question about that. I'm not quite clear. It says about the donation or lending. Is there an option by way of the purchase of the cash coins for an immediate transfer or as a temporary deposit?
It's the same. You decide. You can buy the coin and say it's a coin, but use the funds for it. It will be done so. We have raised millions to get these facilities sorted. It's not pennies. It's a process which we told you during the past few months, what is to come, because we work on that basis. Any other question?
Yes, if Nikolai, if you could go next, that would be good.
Good morning, Mr. Kesh. Good morning, Rick.
Good.
Thank you for another teaching today.
I hope we didn't shock you that you're responsible for your own litter.
Only a little bit. My question today is, what is the soul of the man? Is it a principal star?
It's both, depends on what position. If it is there to be the receiver, it becomes in transition of what we call the end product. If it's there to become the giver, yes. But don't forget, in all dimensions, the soul of physicality, the soul of the man, and the physicality of the man, they play both. While we're giving, we're taking. Once you love a partner, you love back. And the more you love back. And it depends on position, time, place, and emotion. It's the emotion which is the most important factor in connection between all three. Go back to the very original health teachings. We continuously refer to the emotion. It's the connection, it's the field which has no dimension, but has connection between them. The emotion of love, when you love your child, when it rises in you, then it shows us with a cuddle, with a kiss, with the physical interaction. So the emotion has brought that physical dimension into it. It's the same with the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man. The emotion which is transfers the dimension of the knowledge or information between one to the other. Nobody hands a book. This is I don't have a receipt. This is the receipt for me. I gave you 10 love and I gave you 15 love less. It's that what we call emotion, is that carbon in the structure of the connection of the field of the man in an amino acid. And this is why, if you go to all the teachings, I said the emotion of the soul, the emotion of the physicality. Soul has an emotion because that's the only way through that field of strength, we call it emotion, that connects itself to the physicality. That the physicality through the same emotion connects itself to the physical dimension of the man. There is nothing more important in the cycle of the creation than the emotion. What we call emotion is transfer of the feeling, transfer of need, transfer of giving. We created the word emotion for it. But in fact, is connection between one dimension to another, one strength to another strength. If you put a 240 supply with 120 supply together, it explodes. But if you put a transformer inside, you play with it, you can feed both into the system. That system is emotion. Both can coexist, both can come and go. You put a plug at 240, you put a transformer, and then you get 110 out. We call it a transformer in the cycle of the life of man. We call it emotion because it fits to the two, it communicates between the two. We put a booster, we change 110 to 220. It's the same. That's, again, we call it emotion. Man has chosen too many words for the same thing, but in principle, in different levels, that we understand it, which side it goes. When we call it the transformer, it's to do with electric. When it's called emotion, it comes to the dimension of physicality, but it's the same thing. It's the same dimension.
And when we go one level further to
What
the
do you
soul
mean?
of the creator, is it in the same way?
We came from it. How can it be any different? There is another emotion between the soul of the man and the soul of the creator. It comes from it. The soul of the man comes from the soul of the physicality, and soul of the it comes from the amalgamation of attraction of the physical body. We are again also is that part of one cell of a physical body, which then again interacts, interconnects, and the rest of it.
So when we feel the emotion,
Emotion is a connection, how we fit into dimensions. When you have an emotion, something is what you love in the dimension of emotion of the soul of the man. It has to have a connection. What do you love? So physicality must have recognized it and made a connection with it. Otherwise, your soul or physicality cannot just walk around with a lover all the time. Because well, what do you love? How do you love, fall in love in the level of the soul and not in the level of physicality? What happens there? Soulmates, soul lovers, understanding, connection with. Do we reach to the level that we create fields which we are capable to do in the level of falling in love with the creator? Yes, we can. Many of them. All the what we call universal messages come from that source. We are translators of the emotion of the creator. But we are created from its source, which is we are part of its initial understanding of the creation. We are another, as I call it, you call it, transformer in the work. We are used to 220 to 110. We are the one which is from 1000 to 220. Any other question?
oh, many, many, many. But thank you. I leave you there. You've opened the doors again for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We had a question from Doug McDonald, about if Mr. Kesh would like to update us on the condition of the core team member.
Still the same. It takes time. We have another core member in problem at the moment. And we hope, it's two of them now, hope we both go through it. And it comes, we're all aging. We're all aging in the dimension of physicality. He's one of the youngest core members. And it will take a process of time. And the thing is, he has to accept that change. We understand the reason he's got there, but he himself has to understand the relation of soul to accept that position. And we have now another knowledge seekers with the same problems in the past few days. Any other question?
Okay, let's see here. We have a question on amino acids from, I can't even hazard a, I'll try Ekatepna Kopnyoba. I believe it's a Russian name. Please help me to understand what Mr. Keshe says about amino acids. In video 103, One Nation, One Planet from February 4th, 2020, Mr. Keshe says, in the vessel, you don't see amino acids because the soul of the creator is going up. You feed on the energy of amino acids to lift up the soul. So the question is, did I understand correctly that if we don't see the amino acid on the surface, then that amino acid is being used by the soul of the creator of this reactor?
If yes, in a way, yes. It's the way the plants work. You hardly see the fat on the leaves. You hardly see. There are some plants that if you stand back, you see the amino acid floating on the surface of the leaf, but they're not on the leaf. They transfer energies. There are one or two, what you call plants, especially in Africa, you can see sometimes. It's very much like you see the mirage, you see it on the surface of some of the leaves. Which means the amino acid does not have the strength to attach, but it has the strength to be within the vicinity. It's like another nano layer, not sitting on top of each other, but being distant, but connected in feeding the field. And then once you created that amino acid, you don't need to create the next one. That amino acid there becomes a converter of the energy from environment to the leaf, and it stays there in that position. Most of the plants, when you look, the amino acid layer is very close. You think it's the leaf, you touch it, you feel the oiliness. But in some plants, it's so strong that it stays off it. You see it by the shimmer on the leaf. So you do not need to be attached to it. You become the receiver of energies.
Okay, the same person has another question about the use of salts from the electrodes in the reactor. At a conference, Mr. Keshe said that salt is used to contain snake venom. Are there other uses for the salts?
Salts are the essence of the connection of conversion. Yes. Yes, there. And it has many, 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 many applications. It has many, many applications. It has numerous applications. Salts are intermediaries, and the salinity and the strength of that salinity, the mixture of that salinity, dictates the manifestation of the matter state. If you have let's say, salt of magnesium, salt of potassium, salt of calcium, and salt of sodium. One is 1, 1 is 3, 1 is 2, 1 is 1. 1, 2, 3, and 4, let's call it. This combination will give you the cell of the inner part of the heart, inner wall. Now the first one becomes 1.1, but the rest is stay. Now this combination fits to be the inner cell of the kidney. Even the lymph distributes the same energy equal to everyone. Your lymph system is a mixture of fields. when it comes to the salinity, converts to the element which is going to be. So it's a gravitational field. And then the biggest question comes in the world of the creation: what controls, what creates the salt itself? What creates that salt? What becomes the initiator of the creation of that salt? And then it comes to the point of in which part of the body, which strength, which emotion, which direction dictates the salinity and change of the salinity. That one becomes the middle and the outer layer and the inner layer of any structure. We are created by the dimension of the creation of our own strength, by our own understanding and no more. So when you speak about the salt, try to understand the totality of the concept and how it's made and how is controlled and how is decided. I always said, if you go into the game of lottery, they give you 49 numbers and you choose 7. You need about 14 to 18 million combination to get it right. What happened now if you change it to 8 numbers to get right? What happened now if you have to get 10 of 49 right to win the jackpot? And you got to get it right every time. You set up your skin changes in the same position every 28 days, the same color, the same thing. If you had a scratch on it which damaged it when you were a child, it's still there. You say, look, I had this scar when I was a baby, I'm 50 and it's still there. So it has to have the memory of the salinity for that cell in that position to manifest in the dimension of its physicality and the change. And if the body makes it over so many times, it becomes part of its structure. Your child will have the same spot on the same place. Your child might miss it, but your grandchild, oh, look, he's got the same spot in the same place as a dad or grandpa. Yes, because you remember the salinity. It's become part of the memory of the gene of the soul RNA. Then we understand more and more about the process of the creation. Then we have the understanding of the totality of the creation. Then we need that understanding to become in principle, to understand how even interaction of magnetic fields leads to creation of a gravitational condition, which we call it the salt. If the body of the man, through interaction of the fields, can create magnetic field of the salt, doesn't create the salt, creates magnetic field of the salt that creates that cell, with the present knowledge that the knowledge seekers have, you should be able to do it too. If you notice, we changed the name of all the Corona team to knowledge of a nation. Kesh, Brazil, knowledge team, which means you possess that knowledge now. It's yours, it's within your culture, it's within your language, because you shared it. British cannot read the Portuguese, but they have a translator. But would they get the essence of the translation when they translate it? Or is it just some words to read? But the Brazilians, when they read the same, they understand the emotion of what that word means. We speak the language, we don't understand the language. 99% of the people I come across, they tell me you're an Englishman. Because in a very small way, living in England for such a long time, I understand the culture of the language. Not like a German, I don't read the words in the book of the language. In one occasion, the word bastard was used. And the mother, because speaking English, thinking she understood everything, says, my child is not a bastard. Why do you call my child a bastard? And then, excuse me, madam, this means he's not correct in language. Doesn't mean he has no father or father is illegitimate. But this is what it says in dictionary. We have to understand the essence of it. It's the same, we have to understand the essence of what it means to have that salt. What it means to create the strength, you don't need to have the salt there, you have the strength of the salt. In homeopathic, there are 6 salts which they say they cannot find. It's there, it's defined by the, what do you call it, developer of the technology of homeopathy. It talks about 12 salts of the body. 6, 7 of them. We know the others are explained in a very deep way. But in fact, he understood the transmutation of the energies which behave like a salt, but they cannot actually physically make it on the atmospheric condition of this planet. But they behave, they are there, but they cannot be converted into physical matter as you see potassium salt or magnesium salt. And this is what creates a lot of problem with homeopathy. It creates a gravitational field which allows that to become into. If you look at the combination of the amino acids and the salts and the level of the salinity in them as a field strength, the body of the man with all the cells it has compared to what is availability is nothing. We can make the most complicated, this body of the man with all these cells in it, combination of the skin, the heart, the brain, everything, is a speck of dust to what is possible to make as the creation in the universe in another dimension of field strength. What you cannot create, you cannot have. But in another dimension, when you can create different strength salts and variety of it with dimension, you get a different kind of creatures, more sophisticated, more elaborate. But you need to create the fields of it. And this is what knowledge seekers have to understand. This is what the knowledge seekers need to become aware that we, as what we call the process of the understanding, come to understand more in the whole process of creation. This is what I keep on saying. Move away from the matter state, move into the fields, because the fields, then you understand. You create, as the first thing in this box, the field of the carbon, not the carbon. Where that field interacts with the carbon plasma in the air, with the presence of salinity of the salt, creates, with the water, oxygen, the gas of CO2. You don't create the CO2. Between the plates, with the nanolayers and then zinc plate, create the condition of the field. This was very clear. You take the same box, the same plates, put them different, and change your salinity slightly. See how your production changes. See, the color of the gases are not the same. So you produce the CO2, but in different level. And this is exactly what happens in your brain. Your brain is made of CO2 and what we call zinc, combination of field energy becomes a structure of the body. Why does monoxide gas is dangerous to the life of the man? If you get caught in a state of monoxide, you die. Why? What does that field strength creates in the brain cells of the man? It creates a new salinity, which connects all the things together. Everything gets mashed up, communication gets everywhere, body cannot function, it shuts down, you die. Now we understand the process. We get CO2, but we get carbon monoxide, and then we are in big problem. Why? Because the amino acid of the brain has both, but in the right combination, that monoxide fits into the connection and the gravity of the brain of the man. And voila, all gets synced into one, no communication, you die. Because you create a different salt level by changing inside the brain in the structure of the connection. Any other question?
Yes, I believe Ruthie has a question here in the same topic.
Hi, Mr. Cash. Thank you.
How are
Good. Chinese team has a question. They're asking how the sodium chloride are produced in the sea. Is that because of the sunshine to the water?
Explain what you're asking.
He just want to know how the sodium chloride is produced in the sea.
What is a sodium chloride? Rick, would you like to bring it up?
The
Sure.
food salt.
Pardon?
The salt, food salt.
Yes, I know,
Sodium.
I know, I know.
Um,
You see, if you look at your GANS boxes, there we are. What is it? What do we symbolize it by? When you look at this material, in the sea, we do not have combination of the elements. We have the combination of fields of the element, that the interaction of the fields with the environment creates a condition of the creation of the matter state of the element, sodium or chloride. If you look at it, we all know, we've all been there, And if we look at something very fundamental, where we have in the what we call work of the systems, where we have direct interaction of the field of the earth or environment, and I'm going to go somewhere with this. It's a beautiful question, absolutely beautiful, because this might answer a lot of things to you. You ask, how is it produced? When you have the oceans, and with the microscopic nanomaterials which are in the ocean, the gold, the silver, the copper, the whatever could be, create a field in the water with the interaction of the fields above, creates what we call the salt. The field strength of the salt, that with presence of the inertia of the water and the environment gives you that taste of salt. That's why the oceans are salt. Because these a mixture of elements in the ocean have created that condition to create the saltiness. You can go from one ocean to another, taste is still different, even salty. But now we come to something else. We have earth, and we have a running river inside. Mono environment, from where it comes, we dig a well and tap into it, and it's sweet. There's not much salt in it. So what it means, and this repeats everywhere around the world, that's why we go to the springs. Wherever you go, you find sweet water you drink from the springs. Very few springs are salty if they come from a source in the salt base somewhere. What does this mean? It means the amino acid which created the water, which itself is amino acid base controlled by it, does not attract the field strength of what is the sodium and chloride, as the earth layers have become a filter to it. And then, do you remember when we went to Inner Mongolia? And the Chinese government wants to get the salty land changed. It's a lot of calc and salt on the land. Are you there?
Yes, yes.
Do you remember that what they said, 30, 40 centimeters below the surface, the water is sweet, but the land is salty?
Yeah.
It's the same process. The land absorbs that salt, which in the sea becomes part of the water. You need to change the environment above the land, that this layer of land does not absorb salt and allows the salt to go, as the water does not carry, it goes to a lower level. That's why we created our process that we said with the Chinese, what they call it, authorities in the Mongolia when we were there. This filter of land, this layer of land in that 30 centimeter does separation of the salt which comes from the atmosphere. So it's the combination of the metals in the land which dictates the absorption and creation of the salt. Which salt? You understand? It's a magnetic field strength absorption. Then, through to inertia, that converts to grain of salt if you dry. That's why you have a sea salt, because you have converted the GANs into a matter state through the inertia of the water and the environment. You and I have been there, we've seen this in Inner Mongolia. So it's the filtering, it's the way the color of skin creates different salts inside. We have a different skin color, we have different behavior because we have different muscle tissues. You're Chinese, one is European, because your salt salinity is connected by what is absorbed from the environment and converted into amino acids. The sea does not add salt into. The sea creates its own salt according to the interaction of the materials which are available in it. And that creates a gravitational field of the salt in interaction with what is underneath of the ocean and what is within the ocean, that creates the salinity of water. In some part of the oceans, we get the magnesium salt more than the others. We get different fishes. We get different understanding and creation. You can do the same in your enhancement units. You can do the same in your CO2 boxes. You create the field of the salt and you can produce salt of potassium, sodium, calcium, anything you like. And if you create the condition of the magnetic field of the core, you get the same. Then you create salt. You do this if many of you looked at the wires sometimes above your gas production, you see these salts. They stick to your wire. We collect it in the lab, in the factory. The field in the box is not matching, but the atmospheric condition around the wires creates that absorption of the salt, extraction of salt from the environment. You put 10 grams of salt in your box, but you find half a kilo of salt on your wires. Because you created a magnetic field environment. Now your salt in the box is not in the matter state anymore. The salt you added into the box, due to the nanomaterial you put in, now is in a different environment, is a GANs, is a magnetic field of the salt. And this magnetic field, the way you absorb the CO2 and amino acid, now absorbs the salt in the environment. But the situation and condition of the amino acid on the surface doesn't allow it. So it's hanging above somewhere, and your black hole, what I call nanomaterials, is a good place for it to get. And you collect salt there instead of bringing it into the water. Because you created the field, but the field become effective inertia at the point of your wires hang. Just have a look at your systems in when you're producing gases. After a while, you see a lot of salt everywhere. So I put 10 grams of salt in there, I'm collecting half a kilo. So where did it come from? Thank you very much. Any other question?
Mr. Kesh, to continue with this question, another question is related to this. If the sunshine, to match the water without any salt, is that can also create the sodium magnetic field?
What do you mean?
I mean, if the water doesn't have any salt inside it, if the sunshine just we have the sunshine also, but is that can also create the sodium magnetic and the gravitative field?
Yes, because sunshine is another dimension of field transfer. And if some of the rays of the sun are the same as the rays you have, of course it does. It's added, but it's as the strength of the salt. It's very simple. You can bring that change in. If I can break through here, we just received a 10,000 donation from one of the knowledge seekers. Thank you very much. This helps us great. And hopefully we reach that 150,000 by the end of the teaching if the knowledge seekers be generous enough to support what we are trying to do. Any other question?
That's good news. Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
We have passed 35,000 euro collection at the moment.
Well done. Thank you, knowledge seekers from around the world. Various people have commented in the chat here that they've made a donation, and in the YouTube and the live stream as well. In fact, one person in the live stream made 2 donations.
Thank you very much. It's for all of us. Any other question?
Yes, we've got a couple of questions from Jefferson in the Q&A, some good questions, as well as 2 other questions in the Q&A that are relevant. So let me start with Jefferson's first question. He says, my name is Jefferson Modesto. I'm from Brazil. It is an honor and pleasure for me to be able to be here with you. Thank you very much for your presence among us. I will try to make a donation through Raphael as I don't have a PayPal account or credit card. If it is possible to answer, I have 2 questions that I consider very important. 1, knowing that in order to be part of the universal community, we cannot take the life of any being, and also knowing that most human activities, directly or indirectly, take the life of some being. That is, if we manufacture furniture, for example, it takes the life of trees. If we work with agriculture and livestock to provide food, and we take the life of vegetables and animals. If we work with mining, we destroy the land and mountains. What are the activities that we should carry out from now on so that we are acting in accordance with the ethos of the universal community and being useful to the whole community?
It is, I don't know if it's the right time to bring this subject up or have a real point of maturity to understand this part. The children of Mitra will learn to live in both dimensions, both physicality and the soul. We have to learn the way not only to breastfeed the child, that it takes the dimension of physicality, but bring the dimension to the child that the soul receives the energies of the universe, that it learns to live within the dimension of physical life of the man, but not depending on the life of the man. The children of the man, through the child of Mitra, the birth of life will be different. And over generations will change. Where the soul is trained from the outset of the birth to receive energies of the universe through the soul. Where the soul becomes that water and the universe becomes the art. There is a technique and technology to do this, where gradually man will become independent of feeding physical life that it gets fed through his soul. In a way, we transfer energy to the center, and from center we feed the physicality and the soul of physicality. They find peace. The physicality and soul of physicality become one, and man become peaceful creature. This process has already started. As I said back in a few teachings before, the next generations of the children of the man would not even be recognized by the man himself. It does not have that mouth to suckle on the physicality of the energy of the mother. And with it, there is no digestion, but still there is a love and bind to the soul of the mother and child. There is a glorious time ahead of humanity. You do not even understand what I have given. You cannot comprehend what gift has been given to mankind. The children of Mitra will never kill. Conceive. And part of the teaching of today was that, if you understand. If you have ever seen fragments and pieces of the physicality of the creation and the creator, then that will be the same for the children of Mitra. We have already started this process. And partially, your knowledge seekers have already started without even knowing. And this will take time. And part of development of this technology, for what we are doing now, even collecting and raising the fund, is to create and bring that condition. The process of creating the children of Mitra to reach that point that they can live in both dimensions, but have to accommodate gradually to become in a position of universal community, not to kill and not to consume, will take over the whole of the operation of the mankind's life on this planet. And with it will bring many changes. We will not harvest wheat to eat. We harvest wheat to enjoy the color of the flowers when it's time for it. Children of the man will not be what we see today and what we see today. We enjoy the beauty of them and not the, what we call, by taking. Years ago, I used to make sure in April, May, I fly as many times as I could over the beautiful country of Holland. Around this time is when all the tulips come up. And the, what we call, Dutch farmers make a beautiful scenery of these variety, a sea of colors of tulips, and you can walk in it. You don't take it. They grow it for its onion or sale further on and the rest of it. But the beauty it creates will be the next generation for mankind. And we will enjoy the beauty without consuming, without destroying. We remember the beauty of the walking through the fields of the tulips of Holland in our memory without actually creating to destroy to have that. We don't need to taste the lamb to kill the lamb. And I used to do this a lot. And it was a pleasure. It's one of the most beautiful things which happens. It touches your soul, it touches your emotion, especially when you fly low level and you enjoy the variety of the color, the beauty of the creation. And this is the process which many of us will come to understand, will come to, we have no choice but to come to live with. And in that process, we will come to understand a lot of things, a lot of what I call understanding of beauties of the creation without destroying the beauties. Maybe we can add to the elevation, to the beauty of the, what I call the flowers. Maybe with addition of our soul to it, we will create a new color without actually genetically modifying the energy of love, care, adoring, and the beauty we want to give. And this is part of the new cycle format. And this is a part of the cycle for totality of conversion of energies to what I call acceptance of the what we call totality. We need to understand field transformation, not matter state interactions. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Jefferson. Says, since I started studying plasma science and trying to take this knowledge to my family members, they started to see me as crazy. They started pulling away from me and leaving me isolated. My kids these days get annoyed when I talk about plasma and GANs, and one of them hasn't talked to me since last year because I tried to convince him not to inoculate himself, but he wouldn't listen. I'm afraid these substances have affected their brains. What can I do to make their souls understand that I try to pass this knowledge on to them because I love them so much and I just want to protect them? Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. I wish the Creator to lift your soul higher and higher.
The process is your children are in that process, your family are in that process, because it's not on television. Because it's not on the internet the way it should be. And part of this process that we are doing today in raising funds is to bring a massive international awareness about the technology. In a short time, they'll come to you to worship you, to adore you for what you understood they didn't, because it's in the news. The process we started is not just for factories, it's not just for building things. Huge part of what we do will be international awareness of the technology and that process. Because you have to understand, they go Keshe Foundation, and somewhere down the line, they come across the Pedophile Nation report of Belgium. Oh, we can't be there. When it's in the news, when it changes, when it brings what it's supposed to, it's there. I was talking to Armand last night over dinner, and he said, Mehran, we have to change the perception. We have to put something out to bring the change. Then people believe us. Then we see the changes. And you don't put something substantial out to do this. You have to do this because then people understand. Part of this will go that way. because we need to create international awareness about the technology. And then in that time, you become a student, they know more than you because they studied more, they find more. And then they say, you won't be outsider, you won't be outcast. Because Belgium's made sure we don't go into Fox. If you can get yourself into Fox, you're foxed in. And Belgium's paid huge amount of money. Kingdom of Belgium has spent millions, tens of millions to block paid bribery to the management of this organization. The Keshe Foundation never comes into light since 2012. Since the meeting with Peter Falke. We suffered for it, but they allowed us to become stronger. In a few months' time, you will see that Papa, Uncle, you are worshipped, you understood before us because it's in the news and you are fashion. You were earlier in fashion than they were. And then they can see the two things with it. In a couple of years, you don't know. You don't know anything because the new modern plasma technology is something else. Don't worry about it. I've been there, even with my own children. Just be there, just do what is right and everything the correct way. It'll come. We are there. It's part of what we are doing today. Is this international awareness of the Keshe Foundation in space technology. Don't worry about it. You know it in your soul. You know what you do is right. What you have done is right. You'll become the fashion of the day very soon. Any other question?
I think you'll find convincing a total stranger is easier than trying to convince your own friends.
Never try to convince. Let them convince themselves.
Mhm.
If you try to convince, you waste your time. You see, the process is we all die. We all live in a physical dimension. We all get sicknesses. And doesn't mean just because you know gas technology, you can survive everything and you will be forever. If you understood the gas technology and able to solve, yes, you're not there yet. So we have that problem. Till you become, till you're aware, till it's done, yes, then we are. Any other news? Any other question?
Got a couple of salts questions here. One was from the Italian community, how to use the salt that the cup produces. And another question in the Q&A from one of the knowledge seekers, what do we do with the salts created by the cup of man? The cups are almost closed off on the top because of the salt.
Have you created salt of the soul? That's the question. And those salts have to be immaculate, very perfectly handled. You never touch these kind of salts with a bare hand. Use gloves. Hold them in an airtight condition. And keep them in environment that can bring the condition of what do you call no interaction with matter state. Then in the future, we teach you how to use them. When you make if you keep these gases, this salt, when you make your next cup of man or cup of life, you use these salts, not the salts you take from the shops.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, question from Hassan. Good day, Mr. Kesh. Since you told us after a shower to say, thank you for feeding me, food has become easy to bypass. I tried 3 days with 3 olives just to chew, and it works perfect. I am even feeling a weight gain with very less food intake, and I feel I can stop totally my food consumption. What I want to know is how to bypass the breathing and stop the killing of the amino acid too. Thank you for all the support and presence with us.
It goes back to the same position as what we did before. That's what we done before. Then it goes to understanding the process. Then it goes to understand the whole caboodle about transformation. And then if you understand this, what we said about the soul of the children of Mitra, they take fields. Do we need the breathing system? Our breathing system is only applicable on Earth. We're becoming the man of the universe. And man of the universe, there is no oxygen, there is no air to breathe outside. So as we grow into that, we, what we call, find out that we don't need to breathe. It's the time, it's the next generation, next time that it is bringing that position. We just got to wait. We watch our children or our great grandchildren or our grandchildren who come from the process through the birth of Mitra, structure of life, that they come that. Then we don't consume. It's not just the food. We become the feeders of the universe as much as we are fed by the universe. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. There's an important question from Daniel here in the Q&A. He says, I've come to spirituality through someone who explains it by way of quantum physics and upgraded with your knowledge since I am here, Mr. Kesh. I believe I understand exactly what you're saying, yet so far through history, it took humans the better part of their lives to reach identification and joining with the soul of the Creator. And then these Eastern practices also did not seem to understand the totality of it so far. Is there some sort of practical instruction you could give us for our meditations that would help us elevate more effectively? I have learned control over the emotions of my physicality, for instance. Should I now literally just try to dilute and join the field strengths of all my souls, merging electron and proton?
What does that mean? I don't understand.
Well, I wonder if he could explain, perhaps. Danielle, I'll allow you to speak if you would like to open your microphone and explain further.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mr. Kesh, you were explaining in the beginning that the relationship of the souls to each other is kind of like the electron to the proton. And if you say we could, well, take the physicality with us by taking the soul of the physicality with us, then we need to join with it somehow. And if we think about it with the electron and the proton and the dilution of the fields to join them together again, then this is the question basically, would the process be the same again?
What do you mean by that? Explain, please.
Well, as it is laid out in the books, for example, that
Yeah.
you could bring the field strengths to a level again where they could rejoin. Is this what you're going at in a practical sense? When you're talking about the souls as well, like in the beginning of the presentation now.
Bringing up the soul scales through the emotion and connecting them to be able to understand it is a priority for us about our own creation. We have to test and trial. Go back to in one of the teachings, we showed a picture, I think a few times we referred to it, about the guru from India who came to the Keshe Foundation Center in Desensano in 2014. And his station, respect by his followers, was that he fasted for several times for 20 days or something like that in his life. And he would not eat anything. We have people monitored. There's some people in India or China do the same. And if you go to the exhibition center on the first floor, as you enter, you see a meeting room with a white table. This table has come originally from the teaching table of the Desensano. This table is a table where we put the ball and it went black where they planned my assassination by the Belgians. He sat on one side of the table and I sat on the other. And the translator, he didn't want. Before that meeting, everything has to be talked through to his translator. He was too holy to speak to me directly. When he came to the meeting on this table on the top floor, he could speak English better than me. And I told him, you have to teach your followers the truth, not to abuse your followers. And I explained to him how he was absorbing energy from the environment. He was cheating his followers. He was taking energy as food in a specific way, which is not hidden to us as messengers. And I explained to him how he does it. He said, you understood my trick. I said, no, I understand your cheat. It's very simple. You can do it too. Sit upright and move your lung and your stomach in different positions. But try to hold that position for a long time. Wish you want to have water. You're thirsty. Move the breathing rate Move the position of your lung. Move slightly your stomach and posture in a very refined way that you lose the thirst. Now you found a gimmick to extract energy from the environment at the level of the water because you satisfy the thirst. It's not very hard. These people are paid for days at a time to be on their own. I have to be meditating. Rubbish. I'm finding a cheat. How this time? To have the taste of steak. And I have a steak without the steak here because I move my intestine a little bit. I change the position. Don't forget the energies of the air in the body of the animal changes to meat and steak. Now you are that animal. But now you learn the trick. And if you go a step further, stop breathing. Move the motion of your body in a position that compensates for the energy which the blood needs without the lung. You can live without breathing. Physicality of the man, if you understand it, is beautiful. When you get old, you shiver, you shrink a little bit, your lungs compresses. What do you get more than anybody else? Pneumonia. Why do all people die of pneumonia? Because they lost their posture. If you get the old people to stand upright, that the lungs doesn't collapse, the energy field within the lung does not create water, then it creates its own infection, nobody will die of pneumonia. So, meditating in what way? Understanding the principle of the creation is a different. And you know what happened? People who were present, they tell you. The same thing happened when I was invited to the Vatican to meet the Padre. The skies opened up, storm beyond your imagination, because I broke his shackles of slaving man. He could not handle it. He came down and he tried to get with it. But we gave back to what he was trying to take. None of us need to eat. None of us need air to breathe. We cannot do that. There is no air in the universe. There's no cows in the universe. There's no grass to eat in the universe. By positioning, creating fields, we can satisfy. We do that. Many of you do that if you are intellectual enough in your sexual life. Why do you get Parkinson with men? Always on the right hand. We create the imagination of the beautiful body of the young woman who was our wife when she was younger, because now she's in perimenopause, she's not active, and we connect that to the cycle of our physical life, and we get Parkinson. If we can create energy of the imagination, the taste, the texture, the emotion of the young girl we married 40 years ago, we can do anything in life. Steak, kidney pie, strawberry, anything you like. And you'll be walking. It was a nice steak. This is what we have to learn. And this is the process. We don't need to breathe. And then the next step comes. When you get to that level, then you find out, where is this energy being absorbed and is feeding me? Is trained to be absorbed by the soul of the man. The sun shines within. When the sun shines on earth, the interaction of the fields creates calcium, sodium, and the rest of it. Now the sun is within you. This is your soul. It's your soul. And with the interaction of the physicality creates anything. You can have even orange to the taste and the color and the smell you want. Where's our best friend? One of our closest friends is here. He can tell you what he did, and we always listen to him. I've seen his name. He's been here. He's amongst us today with the greatest of pleasure. Is he there? Alex from Nigeria. Have you seen him? Rick?
Don't see him on our list right now.
I thought he was here earlier on. Alex did one of the first one who did this. You don't need, you have to understand process by process to go back. Sit up. Satisfy a thirst. Satisfy by different breathing, by different rates, by different ratios. And the beauty of thing is that these people can still urinate after 21 days because they already created the water in their structure. Now we understand the science behind it. And the beauty of it is now Keshe Foundation has 500 million followers around the world. Nobody can cheat you that. No rabbis, no ayatollahs, no priests. And don't forget, if the guy sits upright with a little bit twisted to the left and is getting the energy of a banana and tastes of it, doesn't mean works with you. You might have to turn a slightly double right to get the same taste because your mixture is different. So you cannot copy. You walk the fields of oranges, you don't need to pick an orange. You smell it, and without the smell, and you absorb the taste of it, you become that cup. Anywhere in the universe, you can create that orange, and you don't need to get partners. Because now you recorded it on the soul of the man, and not on the RNA or DNA of the man. And this will bring man huge changes. Huge changes will come from understanding of this process. Any other question? Learn the knowledge and don't get stuck in hypocrisy. I've got to tell you one thing, if you don't mind. We have reached donation of 45,000 euros. We are still short by another 100. And thank you very much for your donations. We have reached our target of 45,000 euro donation and support from the foundation. We achieved 1/3 in past 2 hours. We need more to be able to complete today. And please pay directly to the foundation. It's much easier for us because otherwise we have delay in PayPal. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I was going to say that you seem to have cleaned up all the questions today except for one from Stefania, who is
the hardest one, that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Can you say that the emotion is like a telephone number, is attached to specific field strength? So if I want to connect to the creator, I use the unconditional love connection, like a line.
In a way, yes, but you have to know the telephone number. You carry a phone in your hand, the billions of numbers are there. You want to call your boyfriend, you have to have his right number. Maybe that boyfriend is the creator, but you have to know the strength of it. And to be at his level, to be able to contact. If you're carrying what do you call it, home phone, you cannot wirelessly connect yourself to the mobile phone unless there is a connection. Somebody else become the intermediary to put it on the what you call transmission. A man is the home phone stuck to the ground, and you need that transition of transmission. You have to get the right strength and right number to get to the other side. ET call home, if you remember, or ET go home, either way.
So is not the unconditional love the actual connection to the source or creator? So if we follow that unconditional love, would we not be getting closer to that connection?
In a way, yes. In a way, we do it. And in a way, it is part of us which has already achieved that.
Mm-hmm. So most of what we call unconditional love is probably has aspects of conditionality to it. So we think it may be unconditional love, but it's still not the totality. And perhaps that if we were really to touch on that totality, it would be the direct connection, but it might be very rare for that to occur, perhaps.
Yes. It's not real. We have to learn and remember the number, as you call it. We have the same as we remember how we create, the actors or actresses out of nowhere that can create tears in a scene because they've been trained how. And most probably they remember the most love they have, the most painful thing, and makes them to tear up, or they get spray on them to tear up. We have to learn which way we want to tear with a spray, or we want it through the emotion of somebody we love. And when you love somebody and brings the tears from the strength of it, then you can, when you play the act, you remember the strength, what you got to do. It's very simple. It's extremely, extremely simple. Any other question?
I think for the first time in a workshop, you've actually cleaned up all the questions here. I can't believe it, but maybe there's a couple of questions in. Seems to be a German language or something here in the Q&A, but then that's just come in. We can try to translate, but we are at, what are we at? Over 3.5 hours here. I think you're probably getting close. Okay.
Let's see what the German community is. Now, I have to explain to you, German community are supporting heavily by a presentation in the enhancement, what do you call it, exhibition center. The exhibition center now has moved to 4 days, trying possibly 5 days full time, and try to come from around the world to see it. Now all the restrictions of the Corona has been removed from more or less all of Austria except Vienna. Come in and see the future of mankind, and see what is set out, what is there, and what might add to your knowledge that you take and change it into an industry and bring job, creating new dimension in your environment. Is if you walk it, you don't understand it, but the way Mario explains and the way we have Herbert joining us back and trying hopefully to do the presentations, you fall in love with the knowledge. And that's all the exhibition is for. And then you understand it. Try to make your ways this summertime. Bring your children, let them see the future, and maybe they make the future by understanding it. I was touched as the age of 8, and for the change. You can imagine if your children age of 8 and 10 touched by the new knowledge, what they can bring for the next generation. Make it a place where we become the house of knowledge. and then the knowledge will come in its own right time. Can you translate, please?
The translation is a number 11981, Gregory Grabovois, the telephone number to the creator. And from Steph, something about Gregory Grabovois, telephone number to the creator, 11981 is, and then she asks, if you know anything about that.
Now we found the secret of his mobile number. I thought his lover was the only one who had the number. Now we've got to tell Eve what happened to the Adam, and we've got to tell Mitra what the God's number has been put in public. I
will probably ban it. Not allowed to talk to the creator because the
it's
rules.
only. This is fantastic. Oh, it should be colored black, but maybe somebody has got the number from somewhere. Any other question?
I just wanted to mention that we have the translation function here, and I should have mentioned it at the beginning perhaps, but right now we have the Portuguese and German audio translation going on, a simultaneous translation in this Zoom webinar. And if people go, I think it's to the more ... thing, and you can select, or in the preferences, you can select interpretation and select the language that you're most familiar with. If it's Portuguese or German, we'll have others as well coming on. And then you go to a separate room and you'll hear the translator doing the interpretation of today's teaching. And you have a choice of just the interpretation or with Mr. Kesh's voice at the same time. So just to let people know, that's a new feature we're just trying out. And there's also what's called a live transcript function, which I didn't activate today. Maybe we'll try that next time. And people can get a live, or get a recording of the transcript and actually look at the live transcription going on at the same time. It's not a perfect English transcription, but it's might be useful for some people.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's about it.
Yep.
We have one hand up here. Maybe we can finish with that. Someone, Claudia here. Claudia, do you have a question or like to go ahead?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Kesh. It's a pleasure to talk with you again.
Thank you very much. It's nice to hear it.
I'd like to know, in a health teaching, you said that the soul of the man leaves the body the exact moment that he must. But you said that it is beyond our imagination.
Can you repeat?
I'd like to know more about this.
Can you repeat?
Because I was a little bit confused.
Yeah, can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, I repeat.
Yeah.
In a health teaching, you said that the soul of the man leaves the body at the exact moment that she must go.
Yes.
This moment, I didn't understand what you were saying about it. You said in a teaching that is beyond your imagination.
You see,
if you could say about it, thank you very much.
Yes. Go back to the matter state. Maybe you understand better. In the matter state, the strength of the field of a magnet dictates its positioning. When you put two magnets next to each other, they create a distance gap, what we call MAGLAP, magnetic gravitational field position. If you put a winding around one of the magnets, you can do it if you understand how to do it, and increase the flow of the fields in one of the magnets, you will see maybe the other magnets come slightly closer or move further. And you can reach to a position by creating these kind of magnetic fields, which is done for some military purposes, some industrial purposes, that the other magnet literally shoots off without doing anything to it. It becomes a trajectory. We see it in the slaughterhouses in a different shape, like a bullet, but it's releasing and attracting. Now, your solar physicality becomes that winding. And your soul becomes the other magnet. But in this case, the solar physicality has given its energy to the soul. So now the soul is energized. And when the point comes that the soul of the man's energy surpasses the blood flow cage, it takes off. And in taking off, what happens? The physicality stays behind, but the soul has gone. Point of death. Why most of us die at the old age? If you can keep the circulation of the blood and the energy levels of your body at a strength that does not come lower than controlling the cage of the field of the soul, you do not die. You can extend your life. The minute the soul of the man receives more energy as part of the information, emotion, and whatever else, and the cage becomes rusty and weak, the soul has nothing to hold it. It becomes the point of death. So our aging is by circulating less blood, feeding the soul more from the soul of physicality in dimension of emotion and whatever energy, it becomes more powerful and it jumps, it creates that, it becomes that bullet to a new position, breaks through the weak cage, which is rusty, which is the old age of the man, the blood cannot hold the circulation that is strong, then you die. Because the soul is gone, physicality stays behind. It's escapism for the soul of the man. We escape from it. We become good in doing it, and in that process, we interact, we increase, we add to it by expansion of strength. And that's how the death comes. Physical separation of the soul of the man from soul of physicality. But you got to understand, the minute this process starts, which the soul of physicality becomes slowly aware that it is losing control to the soul of the man, it transfers most of the energies which are within it, within the soul of the man, within the soul of physicality of man, and the physical energy of the body of the man to the soul of the man. So it suddenly receives a rapid field energy because it's aware. The blood flow is weak, and then the soul departs. It becomes that bullet. But that bullet, through its interaction and field strength, has already destined for a position for it to find its balance. And then in that position, it becomes, because it has no physical structure, soul physicality with it partially, it becomes a star. And that star starts a new life as in a galaxy, in the universe, as a dust in the world of the creation. In a way, you created a soul shooting star, and you have to see if it has enough at the point of arrival that it becomes the source, it becomes the beginning of the new cycle for the soul. The whole purpose of creation is to create new essence of creation, which is another star, which is the soul of the man, but not within the physicality of the man, but in another dimension. And doesn't matter how long you keep this together, you can always play it one against the other or one within the other, that you live everlasting life of the Creator. I made man in the image of myself because I become the man that within it, having connection with me, I keep total integrity and totality of integral fields of what I started with. So I don't lose anything. And this is the secret of creation. It's the secret of life in the dimension of the existence. As the Arab says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. This is it. This is the final, as we understand the beauty of the Creator. All the beauties are given, and there is no more. It's you who have to understand how beautiful it is. As all the beauties, Rahmat, which is the kindness, the love of Creator, is already given. It's us who have to understand.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for today. Please keep the donations and what you want to keep the foundation on. We have reached around 45,000. We need another 100 to fully be covered. We need it today, not tomorrow. In any shape or form, make a loan to the foundation, we return it. We do not open another church and another castle. We want to make homes for where people will not be enslaved, but we elevate the souls of everything in one nation, which is one man also. Thank you very much for today. And I hope we'll have much beautiful news for you in the coming days as this progress hopefully can be completed today. Thank you very much, Rick. And thank you very much for Knowledge Seeker supporting us. We still need to reach our target. Thank you very much, Rick.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. I put the direct donation site here, or address on our screen, so you should be able to see it. And that's all the information you should need to go to your bank to make a direct wire transfer or SWIFT payment through the banking system. And that's the preferred way of making a donation, where it goes through immediately. If you're really stuck and can't do it that way, once again, there is a donation button here in the upper, just above the hello part of hello, we are the Kesh Foundation. It's a bit of a small button, so don't miss that if you can't do the direct banking transaction. Okay, and we've given that website. Put that down once again, the actual donation site here in the chat, so that people have that once again. And I'll put that in all of our media chats here. Thank you so much to everyone that's already donated. Fantastic response so far, and we hope to continue with that. Okay, what do we have coming up? We've got, excuse me, let me get my site.